Your three 5 notes. This is arithmetic sequences, or arithmetic, either way. Okay, so the first one says determine whether each sequence is an arithmetic sequence. Write yes or no, and then explain. So for this, all you're looking to see if you have a constant rate of change. So from 1 to 5, you go up by 4. 5 to 9, we're going up by 4. 9 to 13, we're going up by 4. And 13 to 17, we're going up by 4. So since you have a constant rate of change, you do have your arithmetic sequence. What we're going to put here, because where it says explain, we're going to put here we have a constant rate of change of 4. Okay. Number 2, same thing. So here we're looking from 8 to 4. You have to subtract 4. To go from 4 to 0, you have to subtract 4. From 0 to negative 4, you have to subtract 4. And 4 to negative 8, you have to subtract 4. So again, we have a constant rate of change. So this is arithmetic sequence. So we're going to say yes. And our explanation is that we have a constant rate of change of 4. Or sorry, of negative 4. Okay, so if you have some numbers and there's not a common difference between them, there's not that constant rate of change, then you put no, and it's because you don't have a common difference, okay, which is the same thing as saying that you don't have a constant rate of change. All right, let's go and look at the next two. Okay, so for these, we're finding the next 3 terms for each sequence. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what we're going up by, and I'm saying up because I notice my numbers are getting bigger. So from 9 to 13, okay, you have to add 4. From 13 to 17, we have to add 4. 17 to 21, we add 4. 21 to 25, we add 4. And now we want the next 3 terms. So I'm going to do this 3 times. 25 plus 4 will give me 29. 29 plus 4, okay, will give us 33. And then 33 plus 4 will give us 37. So my next 3 terms are going to be 29, 33, and 37. Not too difficult. All right, let's look at number 4. So number 4, okay, I see that my numbers are going down because they're getting smaller since they're going in the negatives. So I got to find what my common difference is. So from 4 to 0, I subtract 4. 0 and negative 4, I'm subtracting 4. Negative 4 to negative 8, I'm subtracting 4. Negative 8 to negative 12, I'm subtracting 4. So I got to keep this pattern going, and I got to do this 3 times. So 12 minus 4 gives me negative 16. Subtract 4 from that. Negative 16 minus 4 is negative 20. And then subtract 4 from that. And negative 20 minus 4 is a negative 24. So here are my next 3 terms for the sequence. So I'm just going to write it down here nice and neat. We have negative 16, we have negative 20, and we have negative 24. Okay, so now what we are going to do is the next little section. So here's where it gets not too complicated because I'm going to show you an easier way to do this. But for these next 3, we're going to write an equation for the nth term of each sequence, and then we're going to find the 10th term. So we have 2 things we have to do here. One, we got to write an equation. The second one, we got to find out what is the 10th term. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with number 5. So for number 5, we have 1, 3, 5, and 7. So here's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make a table, because I'm going to show you how to get an equation very easily from this. So I just want you to go ahead, in our table we're going to have your L1 and L2, because we're going to put this into stat edit. Your L1, you always put how many numbers do we have? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. In L2, we put down what those 4 numbers are. So we have 1, 3, 5, and 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in stat edit, and we're going to get our equation. So I'm going to pull up my calculator. Okay. We're going to go to stat, edit, and if you have numbers, I'm going to clear mine out. So second plus 712. Right, so now let me go back to stat edit. It should be nice and, yep, MTK. So I have 4 numbers that I'm looking at. And my 4 numbers are 1, 3, 5, and 7. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to stat, over to calc, and we want number 4 because we're looking at linear. So number 4, hit enter through all this stuff until you get to calculate. And once you hit enter, here's my equation. Y equals, okay, A is 2, you leave your X there, and then my B was a minus 1. So I'm going to write down Y equals, so Y equals 2X minus 1. Now, here's what we have to do. Okay, this is in terms of X and Y's. What we have to write this in is in terms of this nth term. So here's how we're going to do this. Instead of Y, whenever you have these arithmetic sequences, instead of Y, you write A sub n. Instead of X, you write n. And you have to know this, okay? On your test, it's not going to say Y equals. It's going to say A sub n. That's how you know we're dealing with these sequences. This is the equation that they're going to want. And that's what you're going to see on your homework. So all it is, okay, is just saying instead of Y, we use A sub n. Instead of X, we use n. That's it. So the first part's done. The second thing we have to do is we got to find the 10th term. So what that means when it says a 10th term is we know n is going to be equal to 10. So everywhere we see an n, we're going to replace it with 10. So we have A sub 10 is equal to 2 instead of n, remember n is 10, minus 1. So we have A sub 10 is equal to 2 times 10 is 20, and we just have to subtract 1. So A sub 10 is equal to 20 minus 1 is 19. So if we were to keep on going in our sequence, kind of like we did on number 3 and number 4, if we were to keep going, because you can see we're going up by 2, so if we kept going and going and going and going and going and going, when we got all the way over here to the 10th term, our number would be 19. This is a much quicker way, because there's some questions that are going to ask you, like, what's the 123rd term? You don't want to have to sit here and go up by 2 123 times. That's going to take forever. So instead, just put this in stat edit, get your equation, and then whatever number they're asking, plug that in for n. Okay, so we'll do 2 more. So number 6. The exact same thing is going to happen, okay? So we have -1 and -4 to -7 to -10. Okay, I can already tell that this is an arithmetic sequence because I am having to subtract 3 every single time. So I have a common difference, my constant rate of change. So what we're going to do, instead of having to keep going all the way to the 10th term, is we're going to put this into our set edit, so L1 and L2. L1 is how many numbers am I dealing with? Well, I'm dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. L2 is what are those numbers? Well, it's -1, -4, -7, and -10. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put these in our set edit. That way we can get the equation. Make sure you're using your calculator, because remember, if you're not using your calculator, then you don't get to use it on your test. So make sure you're using it. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out my calculator. Second plus 712. Okay, I'm going to go back to my stat edit. And we're going to type in our table right here. So I have 4 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And for my L2, it's what are those 4 numbers? Well, my 4 numbers are -1, -4, -7, and -10. Okay, after you type those in, then just go back to your stat, go over to calc. You can either go hit your arrow down to 4 and hit enter, or you can just hit 4. Hit enter through all this stuff until you get to calculate. And when you do that, here's our lovely equation. So we'll have y equals -3x plus 2. So I'm going to write down my equation. Y equals -3x plus 2. Now, remember, okay, when you're dealing with these sequences and it says like the nth term, anytime you see anything with this nth term, we have to rewrite our equation to look like this with our a sub n in the n. So we have y equals, instead of that, we're going to put a sub n equals -3. Instead of x, we put n plus 2. So here's your equation. So most of this stuff is just calculator skills. Can you type your table into your stat edit, and can you transfer from y and x to a sub n and n? The second part is now we got to figure out what the 10th term is. So what is a sub n when n equals 10? So we have a sub 10. That means what is the 10th term in this sequence? -3 times 10 plus 2. So a sub 10 is equal to, and you can just type this into your calculator. -3 times 10 gives you -30 plus 2. So your 10th term here, okay, your 10th term here is going to be -28. All right, not too hard. Last one. So we have -7, I'm sorry, -4, -9, -14, and -19. Right? So for this one, I can see that I'm going down. So I'm subtracting a number, and the difference between all these is 5. So what we're going to do here, instead of having to go down by 5s all the way to the 10th term, we'll make an equation and we'll plug in 10 for n. So I'm dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And L2, we're going to put what those numbers are. So those numbers are -4, -9, -14, and -19. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put this into stat edit in our calculator. So I'm going to go back to my calculator. I'm going to hit second plus 712 so that everything is cleared out. I'm going to go back to my stat edit. Okay, so we're dealing with 4 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then L2 are, what are those 4 numbers? So my 4 numbers are -4 and -9 and -14 and -19. Okay, so there are my 4 numbers. So after you do this, you just go back to stat, go over to calc, hit the number 4, hit enter through all this stuff till you get to calculate. And once you do that, here's our equation. So y equals -5x plus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. Y equals -5x plus 1. And again, since it's a sequence, we're going to replace y and x with a sub n and n. So there's your equation. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to plug in n is equal to 10 so we can find the 10th term of this sequence. So in order to do that, we're just going to rewrite this. A sub 10, that means what is our 10th number in the sequence, is equal to -5. Instead of n, we're going to put 10 plus 1. So a sub 10 is equal to negative 5 times 10 is negative 50 plus 1. So a sub 10 is equal to negative 50 plus 1 will give us negative 49. And that's it. That's your 10th term. So that helps save a whole lot of time instead of having to keep going, keep going, keep going. Like I said, especially when they ask you, like, what is a 78th term? You don't have to sit there and keep doing that 78 times. So instead, if you just do this in set edit and get your equation, it makes it very, very easy. Okay, last one, we have a little word problem. It says Sarah learns to knit from her grandmother. 2 days ago, she measured the length of the scarf she is knitting to be 13 inches. Yesterday, she measured the length of the scarf to be 15.5 inches. Today, it measures 18 inches. Write a function to represent the arithmetic sequence. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a table. So let me make my table. Okay, and again, this is going to be my L1, and this is my L2. All right, we're dealing with 3 numbers. So 1, 2, and 3. Those 3 numbers are, the first number they gave me was 13, the second number they gave me was 15.5, and the third number they gave me was 18. Okay, so this right here, this first number, this was 2 days ago. So 2 days ago. This second number right here, this was yesterday. And this third number right here, this is today. Okay, so those are my 3 numbers that I have. And all I need to do is write a function. So when it says write a function, that's the same thing as writing our equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my set edit, type this in, and get our equation. So again, we're going to have to hit our second plus 712 so that everything's cleared out. It's nice and easy. We don't have to worry about messing up our numbers. So stat edit. Okay, L1 is how many numbers you have. So we have 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 3. And L2 is just, okay, well, what are those 3 numbers? Well, the 3 measurements they gave us was 13. And then we had, 15.5. And the last number they gave us was 18. So I'm going to go stat, over to calc, hit the number 4, hit enter through all of this stuff till you get to calculate. And there's my equation. So y equals 2.5x plus 10.5. So let's go ahead and write that down. Y equals 2.5x plus 10.5. Okay, now remember this is with your y's and your x's. Because it's arithmetic sequence, we have to flip-flop the x and the y with your a sub n and n. And that's it. That's all you have to do. It didn't ask us, how long the scarf would be in 20 days. There's nothing else that we had to fill in. Now, I will tell you this just to help you out on your homework. If it does say, how long will the length of the scarf be in, 6 days, well, then we'll have to keep going 6 more days. So 4, 5, 6, 7, because here's like, what is it? Tomorrow, and then the second day, the third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. Okay, so you'll just have to go all the way down and plug in that number. Whenever we get down here, plug it in for n, type that in, and you'll get how long your scarf will be. All right, so that is it. And you can go ahead and get started on your homework.